The sun rose over the Nile like a golden coin tossed by the gods, or so the people of Egypt believed. In truth, it was Allah who commanded the light to spread across the vast river, illuminating the temples of stone where idols stood silent and Pharaoh's palace gleamed with opulence built on the backs of slaves. The year was long before the calendar of men marked time precisely, in an era when a single man claimed divinity over millions, and the air itself seemed heavy with the weight of his arrogance. In the shadowed corridors of that palace lived a woman whose name history has nearly forgotten, yet whose story echoes through the ages as a testament to faith. She was known simply as the Mashitah, the hairdresser, the one who combed and braided and adorned the locks of Pharaoh's daughter. Her hands, calloused from years of labor, moved with quiet precision through strands of royal hair. She had no grand titles, no jewels, no power. She was a servant in a house of tyrants, yet her heart belonged to the one who created all hearts. Her days began before dawn. She would rise in the small quarters allotted to palace servants, perform her secret prayers and whispers too soft for even the walls to hear, and then make her way to the princess's chambers. The daughter of Pharaoh was young, beautiful, and utterly convinced of her father's godhood. She spoke of him as the source of life, the controller of the Nile's floods, the one who granted breath and took it away. The Mashitah listened in silence, her lips sealed by caution, her soul screaming Tawhid in every beat. She had children, 5 in total, blessings from Allah that filled her modest home with laughter when she returned at night. The eldest was a boy of 12, strong and thoughtful, already helping in the fields when palace duties allowed. Then came 3 more boys, each a year apart, full of energy and questions about the world. The youngest was still an infant, a nursing babe with eyes wide as the moon, who clung to her warmth and knew only her voice and her milk. Her husband had died years earlier in the forced labor gangs that built monuments to a false god, leaving her to raise them alone. Yet in her solitude, she found strength in the remembrance of Allah. She taught her children in hushed tones, "There is no God but Allah. He is the Lord of the worlds, not the man who sits on a throne of gold." One morning, as the sun painted the palace walls in hues of amber, the Mashitah entered the princess's chamber carrying her tray of oils, ivory combs, and scented waters. The princess sat before a polished bronze mirror, her long black hair cascading like the Nile at flood time. "Make it perfect today," the princess commanded. "My father will see me at the banquet." The Mashitah nodded, her hands steady. She began her work, parting sections of hair, applying fragrant oils, weaving intricate braids adorned with gold beads. The room was quiet save for the soft clink of jewelry and the distant murmur of servants. Then, in a moment as ordinary as breathing, the heavy iron comb slipped from her fingers. It fell to the marble floor with a sharp ring that echoed unnaturally loud in the stillness. Without thought, from the depths of her iman, she murmured, "Bismillah." The word hung in the air like a forbidden prayer. The princess turned sharply. "What did you say?" The Mashitah froze, realizing her slip. But the habit of dhikr was etched into her soul too deeply to retract. She met the princess's gaze calmly. "I said, in the name of Allah." The princess's eyes narrowed. "My father?" "No," the Mashitah replied, her voice steady though her heart raced. "My Lord and your Lord, the Lord of your father, is Allah, the One, the Eternal." Silence fell, thick and dangerous. The princess stared, disbelief turning to fury. "You dare speak of another Lord in my father's house?" "I speak the truth," the Mashitah said softly. "Allah is the creator of all, including Pharaoh." The princess rose, her robes whispering like serpents. "I will tell him of this blasphemy." The Mashitah bowed her head. "Tell him. I have hidden long enough." Word traveled through the palace like fire through dry reeds. By midday, guards seized the Mashitah from her quarters. Her children were gathered, confused, frightened, and brought before the throne where Pharaoh sat enthroned in splendor, his crown heavy with lapis and gold, his eyes cold as the desert at night. Pharaoh leaned forward. "They say you claim a lord other than me." She lifted her chin. "Yes, my lord is Allah, and he is your lord also, whether you accept it or not." A murmur rippled through the court. No one spoke to Pharaoh this way, and lived. His face darkened. "You, a lowly servant, dare challenge the God King?" "I challenge only falsehood," she answered. "Allah alone deserves worship." Fury ignited in his eyes. He rose, pointing a jeweled finger. "Prepare the copper cauldron. Fill it with oil and set it ablaze until it boils like the fires of the underworld. This woman and her spawn will learn the price of treason." The Mashitah was dragged away, her children clinging to her skirts. In the palace courtyard, workmen labored under whips to heat a massive vessel of hammered copper, large enough to hold a person. Flames roared beneath it as oil was poured in, gallons upon gallons, until the surface bubbled and hissed like a living thing. The Mashitah stood before it, her children lined up beside her. The eldest boy gripped her hand tightly. "Mother, are we going to die?" She knelt, looking into each face. "We will meet Allah. Be patient, my loves. This world is fleeting. Jannah is forever." Pharaoh arrived, surrounded by priests and nobles. He sneered. "Deny your false god, and I may spare the children." "Never," she said. "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah." He gestured. Guards seized the eldest boy. The child struggled but did not cry out. They lifted him and cast him into the boiling oil. A scream tore the air, brief, agonizing, then silence as the oil claimed him. The Mashitah closed her eyes, tears streaming, yet her lips moved in dua. One by one, they brought the others. The second boy whispered, "La ilaha illallah," before disappearing into the fire. The third and fourth followed, their small bodies vanishing in the inferno. The courtyard reeked of burning oil and grief, yet the Mashitah stood firm, her Aman a shield stronger than any armor. Finally, only the infant remained, cradled in her arms. He nursed quietly, unaware of the horror around him. The executioners reached for him. For the first time, the mother's resolve flickered, natural love surging against her faith. She clutched him tighter, a sob escaping her lips. In that instant, Allah, exalted as He, performed a miracle. The babe, still at her breast, opened his mouth and spoke with the clarity of revelation. "Oh, my mother! Be patient. You are upon the truth. The punishment of this world is lighter than the punishment of the hereafter. Endure, for Allah has promised us Jannah." The words rang out, pure and miraculous. The crowd gasped. Even Pharaoh recoiled. The Mashitah's tears turned to resolve. She kissed her son's forehead. "Then let us go together, my little one." She stepped forward voluntarily. With her infant in her arms, she leaped into the boiling cauldron. The oil swallowed them both. Flames roared higher, then subsided. The Mashitah and her children were gone from this world, martyred for Tawhid. Pharaoh ordered their remains gathered as she had requested, bones and ashes collected in a single cloth and buried in a humble grave outside the palace walls. He thought it a final humiliation. He was wrong. Years passed. The tyranny continued until Musa came, but that is another chapter. Then came the blessed night of Isra and Miraj. The Prophet Muhammad was carried from Mecca to Jerusalem, then ascended through the heavens. As he journeyed among the realms of paradise, a fragrance unlike any earthly scent reached him, sweet, musk-like, carrying the essence of eternal gardens. He turned to Jibril. "What is this beautiful fragrance?" Jibril replied, "This is the scent rising from the grave of the hairdresser of Pharaoh's daughter and her children." The Prophet asked for their story. Jibril narrated it as it had unfolded, the slip of the comb, the bold declaration, the tortures, the miracle of the speaking infant, the voluntary plunge into martyrdom. The prophet smiled through tears. Their patience earned them the sweetest perfume of Jannah. And so their grave continues to emit that heavenly aroma, a sign for the believers that Allah honors those who choose Him over everything, even life itself. This story, narrated from Ibn Abbas in collections like Musnad Ahmad and others, reminds us, a single Bismillah, uttered in sincerity, can outweigh empires. Faith is not in grand gestures alone, but in the quiet moments when no one watches except Allah. May Allah grant us a fraction of their steadfastness, unite us with the righteous in Jannah, and make our graves gardens from the gardens of paradise, emitting the fragrance of His mercy. Ameen.